Okay, you know what I just did?
What?
I added our mics in the settings of the stream.
There you go.
It's working now?
Yeah.
Damn.
You know
what I just did? That's crazy. Alright. Now it's working. So, we're going to delete the past one because there's no sound and there's no benefit to people watching that.
They'll see us like this.
So, yeah, this is kind of an awkward start to a podcast now, but we're going to make it work. So, let me disable that. You're right. That definitely was the volume.
Yeah. What's that?
I said what we were just hearing now was, so that volume slider there, you understand what I'm saying? That volume slider there on YouTube was up so we could hear ourselves through the speakers. But I added our microphones to the streamer.
Ah.
Yes. And
got it.
I didn't even know those settings were there, but somehow they were working before. So. All right.
We're good.
So, welcome to the podcast, folks.
We've been here.
Take two. Yeah, we were streaming for about an hour.
What
did we cover?
What did we cover?
We talked about time management, hard work, why energy drinks are bad, morning routines, and just maybe some tips and advice on how to not get stressed out at work.
Let's
Do you want to do a recap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's revisit time management.
Okay.
What's your routine in the morning?
It's a good place to start because I got so much to say, but I just don't know where to start. So
it's weird to go back.
Mm-hmm. So I was saying my morning routine is very short. Wake up maybe 20 minutes before I go to work, get dressed, brush my teeth. Well, let me take a step back because I remember I went into a lot of detail more than that. So if I have enough time when I wake up, right when I get out of bed, touch my toes, do some stretches, twist my back, roll my neck, drink a lot of water because water does wake me up more than caffeine.
For sure.
And so then I get dressed, brush my teeth, make sure I got everything, my laptop for work, full water bottle, and then I head out.
Yeah. A day when you miss one of those components in the morning could really screw up your day.
Throw you off.
Your entire day off, start your negativity and complaining, and that stuff is contagious.
Mm-hmm.
Especially to coworkers and especially your customers. I know you're in
Mm-hmm.
IT. I don't know how often you see customers.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely see them, coworkers though a lot.
Yeah, and it does affect them because I know,
sure.
There's just those one or two people that I really won't say their name at work, and they just can't conduct situations sensibly because they got this nasty thought in their mind, on their way to work. The weather really threw them off, or the snow was bad and the roads weren't good, and then they get to work and they're all riled up and just tense and and I feel like just their thoughts aren't moving as they should be. They got too much friction in themselves.
Yeah. Like we were saying before, some people can't really separate their emotions from their work. So I told the story, and I'll tell it again, but I'll make it a little brief for us. 6 years ago, one of the people I worked under, they were very emotion heavy when it came to responses at work, right? So something bad happens, it's you feel their emotions. They're very emotional. Oh, what the hell are you doing? Complaining, going crazy. And, being on the, bottom of the totem pole, when you see a higher up act emotional, you're like, man, that's weird.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what
rough.
I mean? It's like, oh, man, wow, that person's, blank or, whatever you want to do. And,
not to interrupt, but especially
no,
because when you're a little younger and you see those higher ups, you're like, wow, they must be successful. So when you get the job and you're like, is being successful really that stressful?
Yeah.
Then you got the people who just don't even want to work because they're like, wow, that must be stressful. I don't want to be stressed out.
Yeah. And you just got to have the right tools to, deal with that stress.
Tools,
one big tool and it's all in your mind. It's all a big mind game. But so me at the bottom of the totem pole, I'm like, wow, that person's freaking out. Like that doesn't really look like the right way to conduct some business. So that person left years ago, and luckily we have a guy, my mentor, who currently is in charge, and how he deals with stress and when things go wrong is immaculate. Something will be presented to him and there's zero emotion in his face. He takes the facts and he's like, well, if we go with point A, X, Y, and Z can happen. If we go with point B, X, Y, and Z can happen. We're going to go with point B because, there's less overhead, or, whatever the, decision is. It's very, emotionless. And that was one of the biggest things that I consumed from him is, conducting business without emotion. And that I can owe my management career to that.
You can get a lot more clarity out of those situations if you don't let that anger and anxiety and, nervousness really get to your head.
Yeah. And there's people 55 years old that still do that.
Yeah.
And they don't I'm 25 now. I learned this when I was 22, 23. There's people double our age that still haven't got that concept down, and they never will.
Right. And I feel like that's just something that's missed in a lot of public schools, public education, is not how to deal with your thoughts and emotion properly. Yeah. And as you said, we have people over the age of 65 who just, they always say, happiness is the goal of life, but I feel like happiness is just one of the fundamentals. I was saying before how to conduct any situation in your life sensibly, not even perfectly, but just sensibly, sensibly, you have to be pleasant. You got to get those emotions out of the way.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's like the first building block is to be happy, because without that, nothing else is going to come.
It's a fundamental requirement.
For sure. So my biggest thing, after I watched that person react that way, I had my first time as a supervisor. I had the first catastrophic thing happen to me, and or not to me, to one of my employees. And this person made the biggest mistake you could ever make at my job. And I finally got him and called him down to the office, and I lost my mind. I didn't lose my mind, but I definitely was like, what the heck are you doing? Like, what could possess you to do this? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
blah,
ripping
blah,
them
blah.
apart.
Ripping them.
Yeah.
And about 5 minutes later, I calmed down. I stopped ripping them. I stationed him there so that he couldn't make the mistake again. That's what all I wanted to do was make sure he didn't make that mistake again. And so I went on my way. And about 8 hours later, I come back. He was scheduled to do the rest of the night. So it was just me and him. And I sat down with him, and I'm like, so why did this happen?
What happened?
What happened? What were you thinking when it was going on? And totally, I was emotionless. I was really, I wasn't emotionless. I had zero negative energy. I was very, sympathetic. I wanted to understand why he did it.
Yeah, you were probably more focused on it than you were when you were ripping him a new one.
For sure. Yeah. When I was ripping him a new one, I was just like, right. One track mind. Now I want to sit down with him and get the complex issue down so that this never happens again. And, because if he would have messed up, there's a string of people that would have felt the repercussions.
Right.
And because in a private business, it's not all about you. You have a department, and that department is part of a whole business.
You're just one piece to the puzzle.
Correct. And it could all fall down without you. And he sat with me, and we talked about it for like a half an hour. And it was one of the biggest conversations I've ever had with one of my employees. And he is a great guy, still works for me. And I learned a lot. And now, just like my mentor, that's how I, deal with a problem. I sit down, I say, hey, A can do X, Y, and Z. why did A happen? Let's figure it out and go from there. And emotionless. And, you know, you get to the goal much quicker.
Yeah, and part of getting to the goal much quicker, especially in IT, is when you have to communicate something to somebody, you try to give them as much information as you can in the fewest words, because if you just spool off with all this information that's, you know, not related to that, it could be related but not related to the scope of the conversation, they get really sidetracked. They come up with other concerns. Would this create more work? Is this a process improvement? Yada yada yada.
Isn't it funny? It's funny you mentioned that. Everyone is always worried about, oh my god, is this going to create more work for me? I hate that about some people. You know, for me, it's, you know, part of, you know, you have the fundamentals of living a life, and then you have fundamentals of work, I feel like business. And one of those we were talking before when we were muted was one of the fundamentals is taking it on the chin and learning to suck it up. Right. And, you know, you've dealt with that in the restaurant business, and I've dealt with that at, you know, the current business I work for now. And you got to learn to suck it up. And, you know, if someone treats you bad or curses you out or, you know, treats you with a, you know, dog crap attitude, sir, have a great day. Yep. You know, you got to suck it up. And then when they're driving away or when you get, you know, to the back of the kitchen, then
you can blow off some steam.
Hey, fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
A specific story came up in my mind when you were just talking about that. So back when I was working in the restaurant, we had this crazy night. Shit hit the fan. We were just packed, full dining room. And these 3 old guys come in. They're all over, you know, probably over 50 years old, and sit down, and I just tell them right off the bat, like, guys, it's going to be a wait. They're like, okay, bring us some drinks. They were good at the beginning. And I bring them some drinks. I take their order, give the chef the order, and it's taken a while, right? And I can see them getting antsy, and then they just blew off at me. They were like, you know, why am I waiting here for this? And I'm like, guys, there's something you have to understand. Yeah. I'm not the cook. I'm the waiter. I'm here to wait on you. If you want a drink, I can get you a drink, but take a look around. If you were this worried about eating dinner, you should have made reservations. You know, your regulars, you know, we're busy this night of the week. And so taking it to the chin.
Yeah.
You know?
And another thing that I said before was in the business I work for, one of the keys of dealing with this is when you're at work, you're on stage. You know, we do a lot of comparisons to Disneyland. You know, think about, have you ever been to Disney?
No.
Okay. So,
let me rephrase that. Not yet.
There you go. Smart man. I went to Disney as a kid when I was really, really young. I don't remember it, but my fiance and I went a couple of years ago. It was great. Yeah. And it was cool because I was going through that management position at my job where they were always mentioning Disney, and then I actually went and saw it for myself. So the whole idea is when you're at Disney and you see like Mickey Mouse or, you know, Goofy or whomever in their costume, you never see Goofy take off his mask and he's, you know, puffing a cigarette or he's just hanging out. He's always on stage. And at our job, you're always on stage. And then if something bad happens or someone, you know, treats you with an attitude or curses at you or, you know, get you pissed or whatever, then you could sit back and say, hey, I'm going to go in the back. I'm going to go off stage. And then when you get back there, you could say, wow, you know, you let a little steam off. And that, for me, is definitely one of the, it is the only key, actually not the only key. Anyway, one of the important keys to taking it to the chin and, you know, sucking it up is, hey, if someone treats you wrong, dude, you're at work. Yeah. They're allowed to do that. They pay this money and it is what it is. And, you know, for the restaurant, I'm sure it could be different. But, you know, for the business that I work at, hey, you got to take it. You know what I mean? And
No, that's true. I definitely resonate with that, in regards to the restaurant business, because being on stage was in the dining room, being off stage was in the kitchen. And like you said, when you get back to the kitchen, you can, of course, you got the opportunity to be like, F this guy who's terrible. Why do they treat me like this? They're not going to tip me good. All these scenarios that you worry about. But even when you go off stage in the back of the kitchen, you can kind of talk to the chef and be, say, okay, what did you do wrong? How can I improve this situation? How can I take care of the customer? And there's something else I want to touch on, but I just got a roadblock.
No problem. But just follow up on that, since you were in the restaurant business. So let's say you had, let's take that same table, for example, right? So now, sometimes when I go to a restaurant, it's a long wait, or the food's bad, or the food sucks, or, whatever, the drink stinks. They'll come give me a free dessert or a free drink, or, hey, the meal's on us. Did you ever kind of...
That's a very certain situation. Very certain,
very
especially
limited
at work. Yeah, so if... it was very limited, to not happen often. So if... it's not like if the guy's steak was overcooked or undercooked. It was more of, did they drop their plate? Did they find a hair in their plate? Did they, very specific things that really didn't happen at all or too often.
Yeah.
But I remembered what I wanted to get back to. So if these customers are treating you in a bad way, you can't let those negative things get to you, because more often you're going to perform worse at your job, actually.
Yeah.
So if you show up to work in work mode, in your mind you're in work mode, and you don't let anything outside affect you negatively, you'll probably do more work and less the effort.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Unless you're working out, that might be a little different.
And another thing, when you're off stage, quote unquote, being alone is a big thing for the company I work for, because if you're off stage and you're blowing off steam because this person did this, negativity is very contagious. So if I'm complaining to a coworker, he's obviously, going to get negative too. And you don't want that. So, and then if you think negativity will spread to your coworker, imagine if you complained while you were on stage in front of a customer. Oh my gosh.
I was just about to say,
it's like wildfire.
So I was talking about this while we were muted. So there's people, especially in IT, everybody works in cubicles. You kind of have walls that are maybe 2.5 feet above your head, so you really can't see each other unless you're standing up. But a lot of the people act like they're off stage when they're on stage. So I'm saying people pick up their phone, go on Instagram, Twitter, and I was saying before how I know a guy who watches Netflix while he's working, and it just doesn't make sense. It's not sensible,
Yeah. I mean, now is this an IT guy?
No, it's not.
It's not.
Yeah, he works in SBU, I think, small business. I could be wrong on that.
So, do they have this extra time? Do they ever have downtime, or?
In IT, no. And I know a few people who do it in IT. And my team leader and I always joke about this. There's just so much job security in IT, because you never run out of anything to do. Never. And it just kind of bugs me, because, if I got to go to the bathroom, that's 5 minutes I could be working on this.
Oh, yeah.
And a few of my buddies at work, we have a ping pong table. So we'll play ping pong after lunch, or if we get a quick break, I'll go down and play a 10-minute ping pong game. Well, just yesterday, Friday, I get down there, and one other friend shows up, and they just start talking. And I don't even have a paddle in my hand ready to play ping pong, and I'm like, I should have brought my laptop. I could be doing all this work, in regards to time management. When I'm at work, it's 100%.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, someone's got to come in and do your job and do it all the time.
Yep. People notice. You might think that people don't notice, but if they observe you a little more closely, you can tell,
Yeah. And for IT, I don't know how often you deal with this, but with my job, I'm 24/7. So, it's a little different. I could even be at home and, there's a problem and I have to go in, or, whatever. Or even if you're on duty and we're dead. You know what I mean? You have to consume time and you have to pass time.
Right.
So there's various things that we allow them to do. But when it's busy time, you can't do anything.
Right.
You could barely go to the bathroom or eat.
Mm-hmm.
There's times when we have events with 1,000 people and you can't even eat.
Yeah. There are times like that in the restaurant business where you got 5-6 tables, full dining room, and you're like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah. And it's like, cover me. It's like you're in the army. Like,
yep. If that table needs a drink, please just watch them. Like, I'll be back in not even 5 minutes. But, back to what you were saying, sometimes I'm 24/7. I'm on call for work every third week. And being on call means during the weekdays, I'm on call from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. because our guys offshore in India come on at 8:30, so that's covered. But during the weekends, it's 24/7. There's been weekends I get called maybe 5-6 times, but thank God I don't have to go in somewhere.
Yeah.
I just get on my laptop.
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
These offshore Indians that work for the company you work for, how many are there? Or is it we're black,
right.
One company? I've always been fascinated with like companies like Dell and all these other companies that get these offshore communication companies to answer their phones and whatnot. So how does that work?
See, it's not really that. There's obviously like a overlay. So when I get into work at 8 a.m., offshore gets offline at 11:30, and that changes with daylight savings. But I don't know the exact number. But when I was in the interview before I got hired, they were saying maybe 40% of the insurance company workforce is in India.
Wow.
About 40. And
that's a lot.
At least IT. In IT, we have the most consultants, and a lot of them come over from India to work in IT. I work with so many Indians, and
really,
yeah, they're awesome. I love them. They got a great culture, but
for sure,
very insightful people. But there's, they're just kind of like, at least offshore, they're a little back end processing. If their problems If problems happen at night, they take care of them. If there's certain requests that my team didn't get to during the day, they can take care of them. If there's problem, we're working with vendor support, they can follow up and take care of that. And if they're really, really important things, we take a follow the sun approach, which is we take care of it until 6, hand it over at 8:30. They take care of it until the next day, and it just gets passed all around the place. So they're very, very helpful.
And now these are fresh from India that work with you in your company.
Yes.
How many?
It's hard. On my floor, which is like the bulk of IM, at least 50-50, man.
So let me ask you this. How is it, unless we have one of them on, we won't kind of see how, their process was integrating in in the USA, in a small business, in the IT world with, I'm sure, more tools, or could be less tools. I could be wrong. But for you, how is that? I mean, you just said they're, great people, great culture. Are they, does a religion come into their culture? Are they Christian? Are they, I know, Buddhists and Hindu and,
Well, I don't have a lot of insight on that, but I know a lot of them. I learned that in India, well, let me start off with our country.
For sure.
From the beginning, you're taught that you're an individual, right? Your whole world is you, right? You identify with yourself. In Indian schools, they learn to take on the identity of the whole planet.
Wow.
They identify with the cosmos, everything.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
that has nothing to do with the religion, just Indian people as a people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have less friction going through them. They don't get pissed off if something. Of course, they get worked up when something happens, but they navigate through these tough situations effortlessly.
Folks, it's very weird for us to hear ourselves and talk.
Yeah, I'm getting better at it.
Stumble.
I'm getting better at it. I changed my headphones. I had the leather around here, but now I got some cloth, and it's a little bit better.
There you go. Comfy.
But a lot of the people I see with the most stress at work they're not the Indians. They didn't come over from there. So I don't know. They're just really composed in their work. You know.
Hey, composure is a big part of it.
It is.
If you're,
and that's what I was talking about. I'm sure the guy that you were saying goes through his business with no emotion. He's really composed in his work.
Very composed.
Yeah, and if you're overtaken by all this anger, all this stress, all the anxiety, it's so hard to be composed.
Yeah.
You know, you hit a lot of roadblocks.
There's times when, I would say 95% of the time he's composed, and then the 5% is like a day off.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when he becomes like, cool mentor.
Right.
Where you get to pick his brain and talk. But, that 95%, he's business, he's composed, he doesn't have time to talk. Like you said, he's very, he's into it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to talk to anybody. And that's why he believes in the structure of non-micromanagement. Now, sometimes I talk to him about this. Sometimes he micromanages people because they need it.
Right.
And then there's a lot more moving parts. With my department, he doesn't have to do that. Is there as many moving parts as other, departments? No. I think that's a factor, but I also think the factor is me and how dedicated I am and how, I'm a workhorse, man. I will go in at 2 a.m. and work a 16-hour shift if I have to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Luckily, I have a great team, and, I haven't had to do that in years. But, hey, sometimes people... One of my guys, his wife just had knee surgery. He needed a week off. My guys figured it out. No problem.
Jumped on it, yeah.
No problem.
I was just about to say how, with my manager, if we hit a roadblock or a problem with my team, we try our best to... come together as a team, discuss it, hop on a pod, which is like it's like a taller cubicle. Hop in a pod, discuss it, look at all the options. And we really go to him if we're iffy on our conclusion or if we need some insight from the management. So we're not part of management. They, we just work. They manage.
Of course.
Talking about it at a high level.
Now, one of the coolest things that this mentor taught me, there's many things he taught me that are cool, but this kind of relates. And you could even use it, or someone watching can even use it. That obviously works for a boss or whatever. You're head of IT, right?
Okay.
You have a problem. Let's say I'm gonna think of something stupid here. We'll use the podcast as the example. Let's say we have someone who owns the podcast. He's upstairs, right? So the camera keeps going out every 30 minutes. How am I going to solve this? That's the only problem, with the podcast. I'm going to go to this boss and I'm going to say, hey, boss, dude, this camera dies every 30 minutes, whatever. And then my point is, some people just go to their boss and, they complain with the problem and then they rely on the boss to, solve it.
I see that happen a lot. Yep.
So what he taught us, this micro, management team is he taught us, hey, if you have a problem, come to me with the problem, but never come to me without a solution. He goes, that is your department. He goes, you know best. So when you come to me, if there's a problem, make sure you're coming with a solution. Now, obviously, he goes, obviously, you come to me if you don't know the solution because, there's some things you don't know.
Right.
But basically, that's the motto. Oh, hey, I have a problem. I'm going to go to my boss and tell him, hey, I got this problem. This is what I think we should do. And, and 90% of the time, he's like, go.
Yeah.
He trusts you. And then, that also depends on, your rate.
Right.
Are you correct 75% of the time, or are you correct 10% of the time?
Right.
If you have a really bad percentage rate, then he's going to think about it and say, no. But anyway, that's my point is if you have a problem, you also subliminally have a solution. So go to that supervisor, go to that manager, that CEO with the problem and the solution, and he'll sit back and say, wow, this kid just solved it.
Right. You kind of look for approval instead of just the whole answer.
For sure.
So
makes you look better too.
Yeah, I was doing that in the beginning. I would go to my boss and be like, I got this problem. I don't know what to do. And it was kind of more my unfamiliarity with the job in general and the structure of the whole department, everything like that. But now I go to him and I try to get like at least two ideas. And that way he can disagree with that one, agree with this one, give me feedback, and maybe have his own solution. And so I do think going to them with not just the problem, but the problem and a few solutions would be beneficial.
Yeah. Private businesses, you know, it obviously fuels our country, and it's really a cool thing, you know, sitting back and thinking about it. I wonder what I'm going to look that up.
Actually, I have a cool statistic about Canada.
Give me that.
So you will see a lot more homegrown businesses in Canada, because in Canada, if you create your own business, you can get healthcare through that business.
Really?
I don't know if you can do that here. Maybe not at first.
Well, my dad might, you know, be yelling at me if he's watching this. So if you're a business, your business pays a business healthcare fee. So basically, you have a fee. Let's just use, for example, $1,000. It's up to 20 employees, $1,000 a month, you know, whatever. So you could do that here. But I think what the Canadian thing is, one person can start a business and have their own healthcare. That's huge.
Right.
Especially in Canada.
One person, or, you know, their wife or husband together, you know.
You know, Canada, I have no ill will towards Canada, but Canada is one of those things where there's you get to sit back and look into it, where they have fundamental differences than us, like the socialized healthcare and things like that,
drug prices.
And it's pretty cool to sit back and look. Okay, America does this better, but Canada, you know, they do this better. They have less problems with that, and it's pretty cool, because when it comes to healthcare is pretty big. You know, it's a pretty big issue. So looking at the, you know, statistics is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to Toronto.
Yeah.
I'm such a Drake fanboy that I've always wanted to go to Toronto.
Yeah,
I used to tell people, like, I'm like, you know, Drake used to drop a new song, and I'm like, yo, my brother just released a new song. He's like, Drake's your, you know, why'd you call him your brother? I'm like, yo, that's my bro. He just doesn't know it yet, but he's my bro. You know?
I will never forget, on the way to school one day, high school, I was maybe in 10th grade, my brother texts me.
Okay.
And I'm listening to some trash music, and he texts me. He's like, you got to listen to this song. And I'm like, what's so special about this song, you know? You know what? I'm going to turn this off just a little bit. Okay.
I'm just looking up stats.
So I'm saying, my brother texted me on my way to school one day, and he's like, listen to this song. I'm like, who's Drake? This guy Drake. And he's like, he's going to be big. Everyone in college is listening to him. He's going to be big. Yeah. I'm like, no. Like, I listen to the song. I'm like, yeah, that's good, but I know so much better music. And look at him now.
Dude.
That's all I have to say. Just look at him now.
He is beyond a superstar.
Yeah.
He is just beyond
I saw a video. He went to a grocery store.
Yeah.
Did you see that? And he's like, anyone in here, you get whatever you want. It's all on me. OVO, blah, blah, blah.
So he did that for his new song, God's Plan. He did that for the music video. He gave.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. So his label, they give each artist a certain amount of money to shoot a video for the song. And it was like $1 million. It was just shy of $1 million, the budget to shoot the video. And he goes, we're giving it all away. And he bought like 3 cars for these, you know, high school kids. And then he went up to these families with a rack like this and was like, here you go, man. And there was this one, even if you're not a Drake fan, it's a really cool video to go check out, just because of the goodwill behind it and the positivity that he's really spreading. There was this moment where he gives this nice stack of money to this mother and this son, who you could tell they were, you know, struggling, and And when Drake handed that to those two, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
you
good
could see
intentions.
instantly crying, like how bad they needed that. And hey, man, what a guy.
Yeah.
Instead of, buying the chains and this and that and another car, no, he gave away $1 million
Yeah.
because he could.
Yeah, what a guy. And, I see a lot of celebrities who do donate, but not like that. And I don't want to put Drake up on a pedestal.
I will.
But you can totally tell that he's a good guy just because you kind of got a peek through the window of what his attention and his intentions are.
For sure.
And I feel like everyone's life is based on their attention and intention.
We were talking about that the last podcast.
Yeah.
When you're giving away things and, is it almost selfish? Are you doing it for the selfish reason of feeling good? You know what I mean? But I think it's both.
I got a question for you.
Shoot.
Way back when, this was years ago, I saw a video you put on Facebook or Instagram.
It was
and It was after
Instagram.
New Year. It was Instagram, and it was
Yep.
after New Year's, and Richie's driving by in Monticello, New York, and there's a guy on the side of the road, and Richie's like, "Hey, man, you want some chips? You want, here, take this food, take this." And that guy was so damn happy.
You saw that?
Yeah, I did see that, and
That's
I remember
pretty
that.
cool.
I got a really vivid memory. So, did you do that out of the goodness of yourself? Like, did you do it because it would make
Yes.
you feel good, or did you do it because, you're taking care of that guy a little bit?
That I think might have been the 7th or 8th time I've ever done that in my
Really?
life. Yeah.
Really? It's a little hard
At
here
that
now,
time.
Yeah.
And I saw him, I passed him, and I went up to the gas station. I'm like, yo, he looks hungry. Like, this is a full-blown bum. Like, the guy probably sleeps in the woods, like, whatever, clothes are ripped to shreds. So I went and I got him some, bag of chips, water, I think some other food or whatever. And I gave it to him, and I said, hey, man, you hungry? Like you said, roll down the window, have a good day, man. That at that point could have been the first meal he had in a couple days.
Yeah.
Even though it was chips and, something else and a water, something stupid, or I think it was a Coke, whatever it was. That's huge.
Yeah.
Do I do that because of the feeling I'm going to get? No. That is not why I do it. But do I enjoy the feeling
Right.
that I get? Yes.
Right.
That's the big distinction. You're allowed to enjoy that feeling, and I think you should enjoy that feeling. And don't go do things just to get that feeling. But when you do things, enjoy that.
Yeah.
Because, one of my favorite actors, probably the favorite actor of mine, is Denzel Washington.
Oh, I love that guy.
Oh,
Yeah, he's good.
God, what a
good.
freaking actor. And he's a really stand-up guy outside of Hollywood. And he's like, hey, we can't take all this stuff with us. He's like, do I want to be known for the guy with all the luxurious items and all that? No. He goes, I want to be known for the guy who changed people's lives and who struck them and, made them really think and impacted them. And he's like, Egyptians tried to take everything with them. Failed.
Look at 'em
They
now,
got
yeah.
robbed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. All this crap doesn't matter. Yeah. Is a nice car cool? Yeah, a nice car is cool. But is what is that gonna do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
When you're in the
just-
dirt rolling around.
Yep. I mean, there's people who are at that level in life who, not necessarily live on the streets, but they're down there financially, and they're still living a happy life, man.
Oh, yeah.
They're so happy. And so my point is, money isn't everything. And that guy who you did give that food to, you might have even changed his outlook on things you don't even know about. Maybe he's been in that situation for a month, 6 months, 12 months, whatever. But maybe at one point he gave up on people saying everyone's just an asshole, no one's helping me out. Like I'm trying my best to bring myself up, but people just walk past me, and there you are, kind of giving him a little pat on the shoulder, man, take care of yourself. And maybe then it was just like a light bulb, like, wow, okay, there still are some good people out there.
Yeah. there was this other time, we didn't record this, but my fiance and I, we were out in Middletown, and there was this RV. It was really busted up, broken down, and it had Texas plates on it. And I forgot what the sign said. But
I made you come to Middletown from Texas.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But the sign said something along the lines of, no food, going across country. So, and they had a lot of kids. And almost looked like a Mexican family, I think it was, to be specific. So they had like a few kids, and I felt so bad. Mm-hmm. They were all outside on like a 95-degree day in this parking lot, like dying. And they were like, just water. I think the sign said water and food if you have any, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. So we went to the KFC. And me and my girlfriend, we dropped like $20 like each, and just like $40 at KFC. If anybody has gone to KFC, you can get a lot for $40.
Oh yeah.
And we brought it back, and they were like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." Blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. I didn't get a big feeling out of that one. Mm-hmm. Like that.
And you might not necessarily get a good feeling out of that, because you're kind of seeing the situation they're in. You go home, and maybe it just makes you more thankful for what you have.
For sure. Yeah. That's one of the biggest things that, that I like to compare. Is there's this video on my Instagram. We'll actually put it on the podcast Instagram so that you guys can follow along with what we're talking about. But it's basically a video of half of the video is a kid in America, and the other half is like a kid in Asia, and then the other one was in Africa, and then the other one was somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And it just goes through like getting out of the bed. The person in America's getting out of a bed, and then the person in Asia's, or I think the first one's Africa, he's like, getting out of straw. Mm-hmm. He wasn't in a bed. Yeah. Kid gets off the bed, he puts his shoes on. This person doesn't have shoes. Now, I'm totally okay with feeling empathy and compassion towards these people, and I want to help them. I want to uplift them so that they can do this, so that they could get to a point in their life where they're good, and then they could help someone else out. But what I will not do is I will not donate to a person who will not make themselves better. That makes me double angry. Like, you're not just at the lowest point of your life. You're at the lowest point of your life, and you're not doing anything about it, and you're getting all this help.
Yeah,
that bothers me so much, man.
Yep.
And I think everybody's been in a, maybe not a catastrophic, point in their life, but you've been down, I've been down, everybody's been down,
and
someone
get kicked sometimes.
Yeah, and if someone's there to help you, give you $10 for a sandwich, or buys your sandwich or whatever it is, you're like, hell yeah, that just like saved the day.
Right.
Like, how did that guy know to do that?
Right.
And
I thought someone knocked on the window. That was weird. I thought
we
I
were
heard
about
something.
to shoot somebody. There's a big hill after that window.
Just trying to scare me. What I was gonna say is, there's some people who ask for money before they get another job, before they get 2 or 3 jobs, before they start selling the unnecessary crap in their house, and people get GoFundMes for, this, such and such reasons, and you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
And you just, like you said, I've been kicked down, you've been kicked down, and I feel like when I was in situations like that, you kind of have to pick yourself up before anyone else can pick you up.
For sure.
To make a difference with the whole process.
For sure. And go ahead.
I was going to say, you could even see that with professional athletes, people who win the World Cup, people who win the Super Bowl, golf tours and everything. Some of them come back the next season like without practicing. They think because they won the last one, they won this one.
The one of the biggest things about being kicked down and being at a low in your life and then it's cool because this conversation really goes back to the work conversation. Things sucked. I had a job. I had the previous position at my current job, which I loved. Things were rough. Money, was tight. I got a second job, and it was a summer job. In that summer job, I enjoyed going to because I knew when I get paid from this second job, I could do this and I could pay for that. And, I think that mentality is so important rather than, oh, you know what I mean? I hope someone else can pick up for it. My mom or my dad or my spouse, go get a second job. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
And
I've done it. Even when I stopped working at the restaurant and I got hired at the IT places, the insurance company, I still worked 1 day a week at the deli. And it was still like, it was nice because I knew they needed the help. So I gave it to them, provided to them. And it's satisfactory. When you get in bed at night, you're like, okay, I'm working hard and I know it,
I love that feeling.
Me too.
When you're like, I'm not going to say the name of the second job, but I'm like, I'm going to blank tonight. I can't go out and go to the bar tonight. Not that I go anyway. But it's funny. It's like an excuse, but I like to use that excuse because I'm actually enjoying working. Yeah. And then, dude, that solves a lot of problems. And, oh, my God, for people, and this is just a one out of left field, for people, I doubt it, and I don't know anybody that have these problems, but if you have an alcohol problem, if you have even a drug problem, and you want to get out of that life, get a job that you have to wake up early for. That will kick your ass into shape. You got to go to bed early. You can't go to the bar. You got to wake up at 6 o'clock and go to work. And then once you're at that job, buy a car. Get a car loan. Get a few responsibilities going. And then you're like, man, I'm not going to go to the bar on Friday night or on Thursday night because I could potentially blow my job if I do a shitty job on Friday. So I think that big ball of responsibility is very important for people struggling and, I'll just go out, I'll spend this money at the bar. And dude, there was a lot of people like that in my grade and in my class.
Oh yeah, mine too. And I was going to say, like, disregarding the work situation, even at home. So families and spouses and couples, they'll argue with each other because they don't take responsibility. See, I try to look at it as I'm responsible for everything. Everything in my life. If I'm living with so-and-so and the dog goes in the house, I can't be like, you were home before me, you didn't let the dog out, blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe when I was on my lunch break or maybe when I just got home, I didn't let the dog out. It's
self-responsibility.
Yes, if you take responsibility for everything, there's no need for you to complain to anybody else.
For sure.
It's all on you. And what I was going to say back to, this kind of ties in back to the Indian culture I was talking about, how they identify with the whole world, right? If you do that, and you were asking about religion. So if you identify with the whole world, you don't need a religion or a book to tell you, don't treat this person like this, don't do that.
Of course.
This, that, and the other thing. You'll just do it out of your own goodness of your own heart because you're treating everyone as you would treat yourself.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And some religion has that problem where they look down on other people and there's different sectors of Christianity where it's like, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, it's like, get that nun. Oh, jeez. I'm getting excited here talking about religion. Get the nuns out of the back. Go get the sticks, go beat the crap out of them.
Or even the Holy Crusade Wars, like they tried to convert. I don't want to get way too deep on this, but I'm just saying, like, there were points in time, and there still are, points in time where people try to convert others with religion.
For sure.
Like I'm not even going to take a specific one. This whole book or this whole scroll teaches you wonderful things, how to live your life sensibly and wonderfully. But then at the tail end, you know, if this guy's not my religion, you know, I'm going to try to convert him. If I don't convert him, I'm going to get anxious and nervous. And how do I deal with him? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's one of the things that I went through. Kind of the, not that I went through this personally, but I went through the thinking process because I was very worried, like, okay, well, I'm a Christian. I was raised Catholic. I don't really follow the Catholic stuff anymore. I'm very, like, there's like this new broad Christian spectrum where, you know, you're not really a denomination, like you're just Christian. And so like if somebody, the way I like to look at it is if, you know, like you said, I'm not going to push Christ on somebody. Like I have my best man, he's currently Christian. I think he's going to convert to Judaism to get married to my cousin who's Jewish. And
Interesting.
I never push Jesus Christ on them, ever. That's their religion. But if they would ever come to me and say, hey, you know, what was up with with that guy Christ, you know, and then I'd be okay to, you know, talking about it and explaining it to them. But I totally agree with you. I don't think you should really impress someone to convert.
No.
I think everybody has their own, you know, destiny in life, and everything happens for a reason. And if that, we're black.
Right,
and you know, if somebody's Jewish and they want to stay Jewish, they're going to stay Jewish. You know, and one of the biggest and coolest things that I've ever done for my religion, like I said, I'll just say Christian my whole life. There's this Netflix series, and it was about multiple people. I think it wasn't Passion of the Christ. That's a movie. Anyway, there's this cool 12 episode, I think, long Netflix series, and the first like 6 are like about David, and about the one guy. I think it's Samuel. I'm probably wrong in that. Anyway, he had dreads. God told him never cut the dreads. He was strong, you know, crazy strong. He would throw people across the battlefield, whatever. Never cut your hair or you're going to lose your powers. And then he started sleeping with this girl, and she cut his hair, you know, the devil and all that. And anyway, very cool series. I encourage everyone, I'm sure everyone has Netflix, just go type in, you know, Jesus or Christian or whatever. It was very cool, and it wasn't over religion-y.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, again, I'm not going to push Christianity on anyone. If you're Jewish, whatever faith you are, ignore this. But if you are interested in Christianity, it was really cool. Taught me a lot about it, and taught me about just being nice to people. Just going back to our original conversation, you know, it's pretty funny. I'm Christian, but I do believe in karma. I do believe that if you help out someone, that it's going to come back to you. And that's the way the world works.
Do you want to know what karma is?
What?
I learned about it. So your body has so much memory. Your body has more memory than your brain can even imagine, right? So there's all these different types of memory: atomic memory, conscious memory, unconscious memory, biological memory, like your grandfather's nose is sitting on your face, and when is the last time he thought about that? There's all these types of different memories, and the way you put those into action and work with them and get all those juices flowing, that is your karma. That's what karma is. And no matter what your past karma is, how you deal with people, what you are in control of is your karma right now. So if you make a bad decision, you can fix that, but you know, that was your karma back then, and that could end up biting you soon.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's a little hard to describe, obviously. But
I think there's good and I think there's bad.
Yeah.
Karma.
Right.
I think it works both ways. I'm very and it's not instant. It's not going to happen in the same day. It could. maybe it could. But there's definitely good things, great things, unimaginable things that have happened in my life where I'm like, why did this happen to me? And I'm like, dude, look at the facts. How many things and people have I touched and changed, and and it's proof is in the pudding.
Yep.
Here we are at the table eating the pudding.
There you
go. But anyway,
I don't know. I don't know. I'm so in love with life at this point. I just feel like I have so much in alignment, and I just feel so ecstatic. I get drenched in happiness sometimes, and I just want the best for I just want everyone else to feel like this.
Me too.
I might have a monotone, and I might be shy and quiet to some people, but man, You're happy.
Loving it.
I love it. I love just, getting a good read on people and meeting new people and seeing where they come from, seeing what their background is, their views, having discussions, and it's just great. We're all in this together.
Being open and happy is one of the most what's a good word to put this?
Joyfully confused.
Yeah.
I always say if you're confused but you're angry and you're unpleasant, that's a problem. But if you're joyfully confused, it's one of the best things in life, because being confused is a good thing in some situations. If you're confused and you lock onto one point, then all the other possibilities are gone. And I'm not talking in the sense of like scientific facts, because obviously there might be one point, this is wrong, this is false. But I'm just, I don't know, I lost my train of thought. You have roadblocks like that sometimes.
Dude, it's tough.
It is.
Especially on the podcast. For those just joining or joined in late, we did the first 45 minutes of our podcast already, and it was on mute. Yeah. So in the beginning, we were kind of reliving the first 45 minutes and, jumping back and forth. Doesn't help with our roadblocks. But being happy and being open and trying to learn about new people and new things is definitely, an answer to a lot of the bad things that's going on in this world. And I learned that from the one and only, I want to call him a prophet, Joe Rogan. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you probably have watched one of his podcasts, and there's a bunch of jewels dropped in that podcast. He is a very smart man, and he wants to learn, and he's inspired me to learn and try new different things. And
dude, I always want to learn new things.
Oh.
I'm all about that. Whether it's, I don't even know a lot about cars, but that's one thing I'm trying to up my knowledge on. But what I was going to say before was, when you're a kid, right, you're always happy. You kind of have to make a kid unhappy, take away their toy, tell them they're not going out, everything. And they're joyfully confused. They love life. But I feel like as people get older, you have to work to make someone happy. They're just dragged down all the time. It's like the opposite. And I always hear people say, I wish I was a kid again.
Yeah.
And I kind of disagree with that statement, because you can have all that joyfulness and learning and great opportunities when you were a kid, but you can have those now with more sense and conduct yourself as a good person in society. You know what I mean?
For sure.
You're kind of like setting yourself back if you're saying, I want to be a kid again.
For sure. You wouldn't be the person you are today without going through those times as a kid, not knowing anything. Like, you wouldn't know that you wanted to go back to be a kid unless you live that.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's that, everyone wants to go back, to no responsibilities. You know what I mean? But learning those responsibilities, those hardships, that creates the person you are today, that really cherishes not having responsibility over something, or not having to pay for X, Y, and Z. But the trick to life, in my opinion, is get your bills straight, make sure your credit's good. It doesn't have to be excellent. 700, 750, that's good. Get a decent car and Go live life. Try to be happy, and karma will come back to you. It will either bite you on the ass or kiss you on the ass, and hopefully it kisses you on the ass.
Well said.
Hell yeah,
Well
that was a cool quote. I pulled that one out of my ass. But anyway, speaking of cars, I heard you got some car problems.
Damn. Yeah, I'm surprised you remember that. So,
I remember everything.
yeah, me too. I was saying I have a really vivid memory. But when I went to your engagement party, right?
Okay.
It was in Bronx, New York, right? So, throw it in my GPS. I get there. I'm right outside the place. Building's right there. And, of course, there's nowhere to park in the Bronx right next to the building. So, I call my sister. She got there 20 minutes before me. And before she got there, I said, text me where to park when you get there, right? And like I said, I was outside without a text where to park. So I call her up and I'm like, hey, blah, 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 you didn't tell me where to park, She's like, okay, Ryan's coming out. So my brother comes out, gets in the car, and he's like, we hit one speed bump. He's like, you need strut mounts. And I'm like, you been in my car for 15 seconds. How do you know that? So I need an oil change, and I bring it to the guy I usually go to. And now I know I'm only going to go to him for oil changes. So I said, just check my strut mounts. Don't do anything. Just check them. So calls me up, oil change done. And he's like, you're going to need a control arm and sway bar links. And I'm like, is that something you could do? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, order it. I don't need the car. Work on it. Blah. So I get it back. He calls me. He's like, your car's ready. I took it for a test drive. Everything seems good. So I get there. Dad drops me off. I get in my car, and my steering wheel is rotated. No. I got to rotate. So when the top of my steering wheel is at like 1 o'clock, I'm going straight. Yep, terrible.
He didn't align it.
He doesn't even have a machine to align. So I call him up. I'm like, hey, man, my steering wheel's rotated. I need this corrected. This just, like, I can drive the car. It's not critical, but I want this fixed. It wasn't like this when I gave it to you. And he's like, nothing I can adjust. The work I did, I can't adjust any of that, and it'll be fixed. So I really can't help you. I can refer someone to you, but I can refer you to someone, but I really can't help you. So I took it to another place, getting alignment now, so should be done soon.
And did you drive it?
Yeah, I drove it to work for like 3 days.
So how's the clunking?
That's gone.
Okay.
That's gone, yeah. And I saw the old part, and it was like, like I said, I don't know a lot about cars, but it's just like, seems like there's a socket, something fits in there, and there's some rubber around the socket. It's maybe like that big. And that rubber was just gone.
Too much play.
Clunk,
clunk, clunk,
yeah.
clunk.
I go over Twin Lakes Road every day. That'll do it.
Dude, I do not miss working on cars. I still love cars. Still love looking at them. But, dude, working on them, being under them, that was such a pain. Such a pain. You go through it.
Yeah.
It's one of those hardships that you learn to love eventually, because the overall goal is to make sure your race car is good. But I do not miss that at all. Eventually I'd like to get a new car. I don't know what I want, though. I've been shopping around.
That's my plan. So obviously I'm gonna have to get a new car sooner or later, but I just want to take my car now. I got a 163,000 miles 2007 car. I want to run this puppy into the ground.
Hell yeah.
And then I'll spoil myself. Get something
for sure.
nice,
Yeah. I have a Dodge Durango, and I love it. And it's going to be paid off next year. And I plan on keeping that until the wheels fall off. And then once that's paid off, I'd like to go get like a daily car, kind of like the car you have, like a small car, 2 or 4 door, that's comfortable and good on gas.
Yep.
We gotta go see. My fiance is ready for a car. Her car now has 180,000 miles on it. Ooh. Still in good shape.
Yeah, I mean the last car we had a Chevy Cobalt, and that thing had maybe 220,000. Body was great. Yeah, everything was nice, but what happened was it was overdue for an oil change, and it needed antifreeze.
That's a bad mixture.
Yep, I was younger, and I was like, hey, Dad, can I take this to the bank? So I took it to the bank, and I'm going up the hill, and it's just struggling. It's hard to describe, but it was struggling. And I get to get to the top of the hill and the RPMs just go down to 0, and I'm coasting. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And the coolant said like 212, 215, something like that, and died. Blew a gasket or something.
Yeah. So, rest in peace, Cobalt.
Yeah, Dad sold it for parts.
Hey, gotta do what you gotta do.
That's right.
But is there anything else you wanna? Actually, there is one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were requested to talk about Tinder.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
I've never used Tinder. Have you?
Yeah, I used it for maybe 2 months.
For 2 months.
On and off, but.
So, I'm sure everyone except me has used Tinder. I know what it is. My friends used it. You swipe right if you like, you swipe left if you don't.
And you can tap them, look at a bio and everything. But it's not really what people think it might be. Like, yeah, of course it's for meeting people, but some people are on there looking for friends. Some people are on there looking just for like sex. Some people are on there looking for real relationships. There's people on there in relationships looking for a third person. There's all kinds of stuff, man.
Wow.
And I just don't like it. Stay away from it. Meet people in person, it'll be more of a genuine, organic feeling.
For sure.
Yeah.
That speaking of all that, and going back to Joe Rogan, he just did a interview with somebody, and the smell apparently of men came up with women, and they like it, and blah 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 blah. And that just got me thinking, the smell of a significant other or someone you go out on a date with can really be a lasting effect.
Oh yeah.
So just meeting that in person goes a long way.
Yeah, think about it this way. If you have an old friend or an ex that uses, this cologne or this perfume, right? And then you're single forever, or you got, you're hooking up with someone or whatever. You meet some other person. Could be a month later, could be 3 years later. If they're using that same cologne or perfume, oh man, it's going to trigger something.
Oh yeah.
They always say smell is like the strongest sense of memory. When you smell food that you haven't had in a long time, man, it triggers something up there,
Dude, when my fiance wears Dolce & Gabbana light blue, woo! I love the way that smells.
It can change the atmosphere.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Changes the whole thing.
Yeah. But back to Tinder, it's just not... I feel like a bulk of the people on there are just looking for a quick hookup or sex or whatever, and it's just not... Even if you get success through that and you meet up with that person, they might not be what you think they were like, and it's just going to be... I don't know. Maybe I just didn't have a good experience. I didn't even meet up with anybody. I just did it to check it out.
So I would have to imagine that there were not many options up here. We live in the woods.
I didn't even think of that. Might be better down in the city, but up here it's like you got to set the mile radius like 50. That's big.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
50
and sometimes
miles
you do see the same people too.
Say that again?
You see the same people a few times. So you'll swipe and maybe a week later you see the same person. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Any other apps that stick out at you? Real quick, if you don't mind. I just downloaded GIF Wrapped. It's pretty cool.
GIF.
So basically,
GIF?
yeah, GIF. Okay. So on Twitter, people put GIFs. On Instagram, you can't, and you can't save them. So you have to, download this.
I can save them.
You could save them.
Yeah. Jailbroken phone.
Us normal folk can't save them. So I downloaded this app called GIF Wrapped, and it's so cool.
Yeah. Does it put any like watermark or anything on it? No.
Nothing.
That's nice.
Let me show you the one I got. Ready?
Yep.
So for folks that obviously can't see, it's Joe Rogan, the prophet, staring at these two competitors at the UFC, waiting for them to fight or do something in a weigh-in. It was hysterical.
That's a good face.
I love it.
I don't know. I haven't seen any of his comedy.
Oh my god.
Have you?
Dude, yeah.
Yeah?
He has this Netflix special. Oh, And it was a couple of years ago, I'm pretty sure. So I could only imagine how much better he's gotten.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, go watch that. That's really cool. Really cool. It's
Tough to pick up on it.
the best joke, the best setup is the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So watch it until the end. Promise you will not be disappointed.
Good.
But awesome.
Yeah.
I think that was a good one.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
So number 3 was like a hit.
Number 3 in the books.
Even if we had that hiccup, we came back strong.
Yeah, for the people who joined late, we kind of lost like 45 minutes of conversation because we were muted the whole time. So shout out to Ryan. Thanks for that heads up. But
Right guy.
one more thing I want to say to you. Maybe you can tell people who you know watch, and I'll tell people I know that watch, and people who are watching now. Rich and I are just looking for feedback. So if you can just share our Instagram, share whatever, and even if you don't share, just give feedback. Like the video, dislike the video, add comments, we always have something to talk about, but if you want us to talk about something, put it in the comments, whatever you want. Text us if you have our number, just a little more involvement. I know it's only our 3rd episode, but
for sure. It's very tough because we're in the stages of creating ourselves as a podcast. We love Joe Rogan, and I'm sure there's other podcasts you listen to. But we want to have our own. That's the whole goal. We don't want to be, Joe Rogan copycat. We want our own. And the only way we're going to, kind of be created as our own is with feedback.
Right.
And, and better and cooler conversations, and hopefully you guys can help us out with that.
Yeah. And I'm sure at some point we'll have guests here and there. Like, we plan on getting another microphone.
For sure.
Having a good setup. But I think that's it.
I think that's it too, man.
All right.
Cool.
So
number 3.
Thanks, guys.
Trace. In there. Peace. Have a good night.